Well, we are coming to the end of the season, and I wanted to do one more Sweet 5 list that just got 5-0 in the past week that I think are really awesome and that you might want to consider. Maybe there's new cards in the new set from Mom that can help improve them, but I really wanted to showcase these 5 decks before the season ends, and I'm going to start looking out a little bit more. I know I haven't done this in a minute or two, probably like a month. I'm sorry, I've been behind, but so today I got 5 decks we will discuss today, and I think each one is pretty sweet, and hopefully they give you a little inspiration for the next season. If you guys like this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into the deck list. Okay, so number 1, the first deck on my list is Golgari mid-range. It was got a 5-0 by Blink Us. So thank you, Blink, for getting that 5-0 and showcasing the sweet deck. What really kind of stands out to me is the Elder Gargaroth and the Casualties of War. I love this card. If you can't tell, I love Casualties of War. So that alone makes me want to try this list, and I do like the fact that it has the standard stock list of what you find in like Rakdos with Shieldred, Lilianas. So the removal package is pretty spot on. Kind of thinking maybe you want to diversify the Go for the Throat if you do pick up this list. 3 Go for the Throats. I know it hit Atraxa, which is one of the main cards being played right now, but not being able to hit a boat is also kind of relevant. So maybe there's something you could do there, but then you have Terra Sunders in the sideboard to deal with the boat matchup. You have Duress, you have this to deal with Mono White and Grease Fangs. That really helps. You have Damping Sphere to help deal with Lotus Field. Go Blink 3 of for the control matchup. Also pretty good against Grease Fang in general, making sure their hand is empty. Stop them from actually getting gas and accelerating. You have Extinction Event for Mono Green and also of course, aggro decks, and then you have Thrun for the control matchup. You could probably bring in over maybe Glissa because you necessarily don't want, or actually over Ooze, right? That makes perfect sense. Because Elder Gargaroth is card advantage, you kind of want that against control. Shieldred punishes them for drawing cards with Teferi, which is quite relevant. This also is card advantage. This is the only one that's probably not necessary, so you bring in Thrun for that, and you should be good to go. There's a lot of graveyard hate in this actual deck, which mainstream is kind of cool. It helps against the Greasefang matchup. So I'm really liking this stock list. There's some slight adjustments I would have suggested, of course, like I just stated, but the list seems pretty robust. The mana base looks correct. So I think it's something you guys should consider picking up, trying it out, and I'm sure there is some new cards in the next set, Mom, that could help even magnify and improve this list. So yeah, let's get into the second deck on my list. The second deck on my list is Celestia Coco, which is basically hate bears. I like this kind of strategy. It's very, to me, I haven't really found the perfect build to get that 5-0, but clearly this guy has. I know it's going to have some number of Archon, Spellbinders, Redain. I do actually wonder maybe if this deck would be better instead of green, or maybe Naya, so that way you can, and then again, this also runs Kayla's Reconstruction plus Coco. That's even awesome. I was like, a lot of these actually work quite well with Fable the Mirror Breaker, which I guess what doesn't these days. Everything works with Fable the Mirror Breaker. So I really like this list. This list is pretty solid. Giant Killer gets that gets Greasefang. Yeah, that's pretty good. Important. It has a little bit of control pieces, some little bit more removal, some artifact removal, Bank Buster for the grinding matchups. That's against the aggro matchups. So it has all of its bases kind of covered. So, and then one of Malaria, which is kind of cool. And then basically 3 Voice Resurgences. So I don't know if it's fair enough. There should be another Archon of Emeria, but I totally get 2 might be just enough. So I really like this list. This list can't hate on the current meta, which is a very combo heavy meta. Hopefully that changes in the next season with Mom. Hopefully it doesn't power up combo decks even more. Hopefully it powers up other strategies. But This deck is $300, not terrible price tag. It's about what you would pay for a standard list, so probably actually more than that because standard is filled with black decks, which has Shieldred in it, which takes the price up even further. So if you like hate bears and that kind of strategy, definitely consider picking this list up. And I also kind of actually just noticed that this does not play Thalia, which makes sense because it's kind of a nombo with the Cables Reconstruction and Collecting Company. Maybe that's what I did wrong. I keep playing Thalia, and it's not a good card for this deck. So let's get into the next list, which I think is kind of spicy. For $116, it's pretty cheap. Only 2 mythics and 21 rares. That's not terrible. So that kind of tells me there's a lot of bulk rares in this deck, which isn't a bad thing. So that's good. We have it's Obosh. What really stood me out to me in this deck is the Furnace Punishers. I love this card. I think it is one of the sweetest cards in Phyrexian All Will Be One that really doesn't see enough play. So I'm excited to see it. Phoenix Chick is kind of up for grabs. I'm not sure if this should be in the list. There's probably better 1-drops, right? We have 4 Kimonos, Wild Slash. So, I mean, the deck looks pretty solid. There's definitely could be some newer cards in the next set that could help boost this deck. And Chandra, there's only 2 Chandras, none on the board for control. I guess you could probably race control. Frostodons for the Angel matchup. Rending Volley also for Angels, Spirits, Greasefang, which is all you really need to do is you need to push them off 1 turn because they're technically slower than you if they can't, get the par healing and kill. Lantern, also pretty good against Greasefang, also helps you, draw a card. Chain Waller is good against the Elves. Then you have Kari Zev Expertise, which is really good against mono green. Atraxa, that way you can get that extra point of damage across. So I really like this burn stock list of mono red aggro. Like I said, it also kind of helps that there is Furnace Punisher, which I've always been a fan of land, hate, burn. So I kind of want to see more from Wizards in this category. Like, we need some decent options so that way we could hate on non-basics more, so that way maybe we could push them off of the 5-color piles that are going around. So I like this list. Let me know down in the comments if any of these decks are interesting to you. And let's get into the second from the last deck. This is a little bit more expensive. This is basically Esper Legends. So Shieldred definitely ramps up the cost of this. Mana Confluence is also quite expensive. Rafine is Gix, which is card advantage, which I don't think the standard version plays it. It has 3 Adelines, 4 Thalias, a Lavinia, which is really good against the Neoforms and stuff like that. So it's actually quite good in this meta. And then you have Dinnick, was also pretty good against Greasefang. So it has a decent stock of removal as well. And then has Mox Amber to go with all your legends. 25 lands is pretty self-stocked. And it looks like this has a better mana base than the standard variant, which is one of its biggest weaknesses from what I've seen it being piloted, is the mana base gets you more times in the actual matchup. So this definitely addresses that issue. And having a Mox also just helps you amplifies your draws. So sideboard, we have some more pushes for the aggro matchups, Thought Seats for the control matchups and control. We have a Fracture in here. Hates on it gets the Fable and the Mirror Breaker. It gets Planeswalkers like the Fairy. We have a couple more Lavinias in case we face combo. We could bring it in, stop Delve, so that pushes off Neoform more. We have 4 Wedding Announcements for the grinding matchups, which is pretty good. Then we have 3 Urza's Runa's Blast, which is a sweeper that works really good in this deck. That is definitely a card that's budget friendly, and it's awesome to see it actually seeing play, and it makes a lot of sense that it sees play in this deck, because you just play it, get in with a huge attack, and win the game. I like this list. It's pretty cool. If you want to see me play this deck, let me know that down in the comments, because I'm always looking at opening up to new possibilities in what decks I play. And if you guys like this list, just let me know, and I will consider adding it to the competitive series or something like that where I play it, especially if there's a new card that could see play in this list. We got one more deck to talk about today, and I think it is the sweetest of all the decks. So save the best for last. Let's get into it. So a deck that has been kind of getting some small 5-0s, and that is Dragons. This actually has the biggest implications for the next set, right, Mom? We know there is a Invasion of Tarkir, which cares about dragons. So the fact that this is a possibility of a brew, and it's getting 5-0s already. So if we could add that extra layer on top of it, it might make this deck even better. I don't know exactly what you would cut. You could cut Bone Crushers, which it kind of fills a similar void, but Migs is different, right? Because that actually helps against artifacts and enchantments like Fable the Mirror Breaker. So you wouldn't cut that. You could just cut Fable the Mirror Breaker, but that's the best card in the format, so I wouldn't advise that. But there's definitely a lot here. It's sweet that dragons are actually putting up the results. It has 1 Stormbreath Dragon and 2 in the side. It's really good against Atraxa. It blocks. They can't gain life, which is actually quite potent for that matchup. It is, however, interesting that they're playing Tyrant of Ridges, which I guess you could pay into it and trade with the Atraxa, so that's kind of relevant. And the mana base, has gotten a lot better. Maybe that was what was holding it back. But now that we have a Copperline Gorge and the forest, now it has enough dual lands to actually, be a successful deck. Sideboard, though, this deck has Alpine Moons for Lotus Field, Rending Volley for Greasefang and Mono White and Spirits. Run of Foul is in here for the Atraxa. So you could technically play the new sorcery speed that destroys an artifact, a Atraxa, enchantment, or a battle. That is a possibility if you wanted to switch that. It's more diverse in what it can hit, rather than this is just a flyer. We have Damping Sphere also for Lotus Field. Also could be used in Storm Style strategies. Roast for Shieldred. Unlicensed Hirsch for Graveyard Hate. And like I said, Storm Breath is for Atraxa, which is also decent against Mono White. You could bring it in. I don't know, you would cut probably the Tyrant to lower your curve, because Mono White also is quite aggressive. But I think this deck actually has a good, already built, ratio against Mono White. So you probably be able to beat them quite, easily. But I definitely think this deck is one of the coolest list. If, like I said, if there any of these decks you find interesting, let me know down in the chat. There's also a link to my Discord down there. If you are interested, go ahead and join. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you get alerts for all future videos for next season. And I will be trying to look out more within the next couple of weeks to see what decks are 5-0ing with brand new March cards that are interesting, and I will bring them to your attention. So if you're interested, like in this kind of content, make sure you subscribe. And until next time, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day.